Welcome to the Stats on Stats Pod. Yeah.
Alright guys, you're alive.
Oh, how exciting. How exciting. So how are you guys doing today?
Tired, but I'll make it.
I'm still waking up myself, but likewise, we'll make it.
When people ask that question, you're just supposed to say, oh, I'm great.
That is, and you know, it's so funny. You can completely disrupt someone's programming by giving a non-standard answer to that. I remember I was getting my hair cut back when I actually used to have hair. And the one of the people in there when I first walked in, of course, is like, hey, how you doing? And I gave the safe answer. I'm like, yeah, good. How are you? Sat down. Then she comes back 5 minutes later, asked me the same thing, just out of sheer habit. Hey, how you doing? And I said, the same as 5 minutes ago when you asked. You could see something just like snap, like broke in her head. And I wasn't trying to be mean with it. I was trying to point out the programming thing. And we actually did end up having a good conversation on that default programming, that kind of social construct. And it led to a really good conversation. So
That's good. I didn't know you. You know, it's weird. I didn't realize you didn't have hair.
Oh, yeah. No hair.
Wow. That's the first time I've ever seen you without like a hat.
This is by design. No one ever sees me without a hat. No one ever sees me wearing anything else. It's part of the brand.
Hey, I'm the same way.
Wait, are you bald too?
No, I'm going bald, but I'm not fully bald yet. I just hide it very well.
Okay.
You know, I remember back to ninth grade, my physical science teacher, Mr. Gann, I said I wasn't going to say names, but hell, it's been 20 years, whatever. My guy had this comb over that was just like a foot and a half of hair going over his head. And I remember sitting there looking, it's like, you know, if I ever start balding, I'm going to meet it head on. I will not look like that. And don't get me wrong, great teacher. I love the guy. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but he did influence my choice of hairstyle going forward. So the moment that I started seeing that hair creeping up, it's like, we're done.
Yes, that's called a lesson learned.
Embrace it, yeah.
Period. Why are you tired, Kenneth? You got kicked in the head yesterday?
No. What? No. I was supposed to go training today, but I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I went Thursday, so I'm still super sore. I've just been practicing my KQO stuff for one of my clients.
Oh, okay. I got you. Whiner.
What training are you talking about?
It's for was it a Blue Raven? Which is really good actually. I hate Microsoft's normal training because it kind of sucks. So I want a different provider.
Okay.
Good thing you don't have a partnership with them, huh?
They don't care about me. I'm not big enough yet.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Paul, do you know what's about to happen before we get into the hard-hitting questions?
The hard-hitting questions. I really don't. Let's just kind of take it as it goes.
Okay, well, Kenneth, if you feel like you know any parts of whatever, you can help. But we're going to be playing That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition.
I did know this was coming.
I'm going to change it up for you one day, and you're not going to know.
Like, can we get like I don't know, like some type of, I don't know. I'm not a musician. Paul, let's brainstorm. You're the DJ over here.
You're supposed to be testing me on my knowledge of this. If I give you the answer and then you give it back to me, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose?
Valid point. Okay, so here are the rules. We're going to be playing 4 covers of 90s R&B songs. So 4 covers is the female voice, even though
covers.
Yes, covers, because, copyright purposes. Yeah. Okay, so you have until the end of the song to guess either the name of the artist or the name of the song. If you get both, it's a flex. Points are still the same, and you get 2 to 3 guesses.
And a bunch of hints.
And if you want to phone a friend, Kenneth probably can't help you because he's like 24. But
I'm not that young. I'm not that young. I wish I was.
All right, let's get into it. Song number 1, please.
I gave you all the love I got. I gave you more than I could give. Gave you love.
Tiffany knows all of them, so I'm just going to go ahead and repost on LinkedIn.
I gave you all that I had inside, and you took my love. You took my love.
Got nothing.
Didn't I tell you what I believe?
Nothing.
I got nothing.
Why don't people use ChatGPT? It's starting to disappoint me, to be perfectly honest. All right, Tiffany.
Thought it was our trivia, not Ask the Robot.
Paul has an interesting relationship with AI.
Yes, I do.
His feelings about AI are like the Kendrick Drake diss. But let's go ahead, Tiffany. Who is it?
That's Sade. No Ordinary Love.
I don't know who that
Still
is.
got nothing. Yeah.
I know Kenneth. We know you don't know who that is.
I'm born in 1997. I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, I had high hopes. I had high hopes for Paulo because he's a DJ. High hopes.
Dubstep DJ.
Same thing.
Same.
Okay.
All right,
That's crazy.
let's go. Song number 2.
I heard she's got a 9 to 5.
Oh, I know this one.
But coming in after 12, I know you're tired of her lies. Just let her go, what the deal? And now take me for instance, babe.
Okay, go ahead,
See,
Tiffany.
my love will drive you crazy.
It's 808 by Black.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the cut right there. Anthony, did you know that one?
Circles like a
No.
That's a damn shame. Okay. Well. All right, let's just get through the rest of this easy.
In fairness, I did prefix this with some people I would know, so I would have hoped at least one of those would come out.
Did you have a list?
I can give a list. It is on our pregame for this. I think I mentioned a few artists.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. All right, 2 more. Song number 3, please.
Some people say that I am not the same girl. They say I think that I am
know
in my
this one.
own world. What makes them think that I have changed? A little
face.
though, can that
I got
address my
nothing.
problems? Me like you, I have to try and solve.
All right, Tiffany, who
yes,
is this?
everything is quite the same.
Brandy.
I'm just trying to be me. Do
I know that artist. I don't know the song, but
Yeah,
I
I know
recognize
the
there we
artist.
go.
I don't know the song though.
just sitting
I don't know if
Get
she's
that
that old.
point, though.
I'm just
Kenneth is finally using ChatGPT SEM typing.
No, I'm trying to send a thing towards. They were asking for the link to watch this. I gotta send it towards them.
Okay, well, that's cool. We're still just doing songs. Song number 4, last and final song. Let's hit it.
Can't get my mind off you. I think I might be obsessed. The very thought of you makes me wanna get undressed.
Okay,
I wanna be
Okay, girl.
in spite of what my heart says. I guess I want you too bad. All I want is moon.
I got nothing.
With you there beside
This is embarrassing. Am I even a musician? I mean,
all night.
I'm wondering,
Doing it
honestly.
again,
Nah. Okay. So
Oh gosh, here go the hints.
we gotta, cause we gotta help a little bit. Okay.
We need a sound for the hints.
This one's hard to like give a hint for though. Okay, I could probably give a hint to Kenneth might know. Okay, what was the name of the tiger on the Frosted Flakes? What?
okay, I got it.
Okay.
So, artist is Tony.
No, but the first name is right. First name is
Okay.
right. So last name,
We're gonna walk you through this answer.
Tony Braxton.
what is it called
He
when
said
women
it already.
Wait.
He said it.
Oh, you said it?
Is it Tony Braxton?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, I was gonna
That
be like,
doesn't count.
Wait, look, I'm like, what is it called when women have false labor?
Oh my god.
It's Braxton Hicks, right?
Oh
Braxton
my gosh.
See, I'm smooth.
That
low
would have helped me at all.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and get into the reason people actually come here. Yo, if it's your first time, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordan, aka Jay, aka The Chosen One, aka Big Stepper, and I'm here with my actually 2 co-hosts today. We'll start with co-host number 1.
Yeah, everybody, I'm Tiffany. Glad that you're here for this episode with us. And go ahead, Kenneth, tell them who you are.
My name's Kenneth Ellington. I help out Tiffany and Jordan a lot with a lot of their podcast stuff. So they help me out with my students. So they're cool. They're cool people.
He's embellishing like, oh, I help them with their podcast stuff a lot. I'm just playing with you.
Oh,
All right, Tiffany, go ahead.
Okay, if you're here today, what we try to do on this podcast is get a chance to talk to leaders in the IT technology spaces. So speaking of those leaders, we have somebody here with us who is going to tell everyone who he is, what he does, how long he's been in the tech space, and I'll let him take it away.
So I think that's me, not the voice in the sky there. I'm Paul. Thank you so much for having me on here. I am field CTO for a services delivery company right now, working specifically in subscription services. I've been in tech, I guess, quasi-officially since about 2003. So it's 22 years, something like that. But I've been working with technology since I can remember.
It's a long time, 22 years.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember even further back. So
He started when he was 5. That's crazy work.
Well,
Not
let's go ahead
quite
and
that young.
kick this off, Paul, by telling everybody what sparked your initial interest in tech. What made you go, you know what, this is my thing?
I don't really remember a specific moment. I have several moments. You joked about 5. Actually, when I was 5, I knew what the inside of a lawnmower engine looked like. My grandfather used to work on engines, take them apart. He'd have parts laying all over the garage. I remember in school seeing Captain Jean-Luc Picard order a tea Earl Grey hot, and it just materialized, and seeing how technology was integrated on the Starship Enterprise. I just thought it was cool. I think my first computer was an Atari 800, and I immediately started writing games for it. Just that feeling of creation, that feeling of building something that wasn't there before, and using technology to build something new, to integrate stuff, that's just always interested me.
When you think about where technology is leading you today, like what do you see in terms of trends that you've noticed the most?
That is a broad question. So I guess narrowing that to the field that I'm currently in right now, we're leading a transition on services delivery. And when I say a transition, legacy service delivery is more of, you have a statement of work, you've got a butt in a chair for 40 hours a week, and you ask for 10 things, and you get probably 7 of them if you're lucky by the time that contract is done. And, that's no shade on the consultants that are delivering that. It's just no one person knows everything. And so if you look back across kind of the last 30 years of trends, when was the last time you bought a CD? When was the last time you bought a DVD? Many, many industries are moving from this kind of ownership to subscription pay-as-you-go model. You've seen that with Spotify. You've seen that with Netflix. You've seen that with Uber. I forget the company's name. I think, hell, you can even subscribe to a car now if you just want a car part-time. And in enterprise, you see that with software as a service. I don't know anyone who still runs their own on-premise Exchange service anymore. It's all Microsoft Online. And it really makes sense that services are kind of the next to go with that. If you look at the scope statement of works, that is more or less an ownership model. I guess that's more relevant than I thought it was, because oftentimes when you have that, the work that's done is considered a work for hire. So the company owns that, and that creates inefficiencies where you've got the services delivery firm having to frankly reinvent wheels everywhere they go. I joked about getting only 7 of the 10 things that you asked for, and it's just a skills gap that no one person knows everything. So being able to subscribe to a service and making sure that you get everything you asked for when you asked for it is, in my opinion, the next logical shift on that.
Ooh, I like that. And Kenneth, I kind of want your input on that, your insight on that, because you worked in professional services or in kind of like a consultant role. What are your thoughts?
I still technically do. Because I've been on a company for it too. So it's an interesting model, right? Paul is right. There's a lot of firms that will hire consulting firms, and they'll bill like, I think when I was at EY, they were billing me out for like $270 per hour. I wasn't making anywhere near that at all. Please don't add me.
You never
that.
do.
But a lot of times they run junior consultants that don't know how to do basic stuff. They're still trying to charge for that amount. So it makes it hard on the client to who the hell is this guy? Why is he inside my environment? He can't do basic FPO queries. He can't build basic rules out. Why is he here? And so we've had in the past, people get kicked off of the client because they're the person can't do their job. Why am I paying them $40,000 a month to be on our team if they can't do the basic functions of their job, right? So just having a much more functional, hey, we're just going to subscribe per this amount per on a monthly basis, and if it doesn't work out, we just cancel the contract, right? That makes it a lot easier on a lot of teams.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, 100%. Can I run it back though? I want to run it back real quick because I do want to come back to this, but I got to run it back because I know, Paul, I want to talk a little bit about your journey into tech because you actually had kind of like an untraditional path into it. So I kind of want to know about it a little bit because it's really interesting.
I did. So for the vast majority of my younger life, technology was just kind of a fun thing. I built stuff because it was cool. And my first time around in college, my first attempt at college, I didn't succeed the first time through. I got into playing an online game, which eventually became building content for the game, which eventually began writing actual code and changing the physics of the game. And that was just fun with me. That's where I learned C. This was back in 1998. Probably predates everyone on this call. And so, I mentioned that I wasn't very successful my first time through college. The smartest thing I did was withdrawing before they kicked me out. And I spent a couple of years just kind of directionless. I was stocking shelves at Walmart. And I thought back to high school. I'm like, I've got this ROTC experience. I'm not doing anything else with my life. May as well join the military, get some direction. Sure enough, I did. I enlisted for munitions. My first duty assignment was at a missile shop, and I got to tell you, it's unnerving looking at an air-to-air missile staring you right in the face. So that took a little bit of adjustment. And I'm going to oversimplify this a bit, but I ended up helping one of our flight mates with his email, and the root cause was the freaking computer was off. I kid you not.
No.
Somehow this told people, hey, I knew computers. So they moved me into a more or less a tech support role for the flight. And at that point, I started getting exposure to all of the different tracking systems that we had. We had a system for conventional munitions. We had a system for missiles. We had a system for trailers. We had a system for work orders. We had a system for personnel actions, think performance reports and whatnot. And I'm looking at that. We had an E6, a tech sergeant. Her whole job was to jockey data back and forth between these systems and then build a PowerPoint slide for the flight for the chief on Friday. I'm like, why in the world are you doing this? They're like, well, the systems can't talk to each other. So I hijacked the Air Force had just adopted a new tool accountability system, and every flight had this system for tracking all their tools. That was back-ended by a Microsoft SQL database that, in their infinite wisdom, they failed to lock down the root password for. So I couldn't get authorization to use Apache. I couldn't get authorization to use Linux, all the tools I was used to, but I could hijack things. So I ended up automating the connections between these systems, automating that slideshow. And that is what I did for, 3 years there. So when it came time to re-enlist, I was faced with a choice. It's like, do I continue this career path? And I'm like, you know what? Let me put this experience out there on dice. Sure enough, someone picked me up. It was the guy who would eventually bring me into Splunk, and the rest is history on that.
Yeah. So did you actually get out because you saw how much you could get paid?
That was a part of it. But another part of it was we had this really hard-ass master sergeant that was over our E7 that was over our flight. And this guy was trying to make a name for himself. We were doing some exercises. Our shop was already manned 24/7. We were in munitions control at that point. He still felt the need to put us on 12-hour shifts for like 3 months straight, working 7 days a week. And some of that in full chemical warfare defense gear. And I got to tell you, that stuff's hot. So, I'm like, do I really want to, spend the next 6 years of my life going through things like this? And then, of course, the pay was better. I think my first job, I was making 3 times what I was making as an E5. And no one shot at me.
Straight up. Straight up.
So there's that.
So Paul, I guess how many SIM platforms have you worked for? Or worked with? Okay, maybe worked with Splunk specifically.
In terms of big data analysis, it's predominantly been Splunk. I have done some work with CrowdStrike, NextGen SIM. I work a lot with Cribble in terms of the data between it. In terms of just working with technology in general and integrating things, practically anything with an API. I've worked with Workday, I've worked with Salesforce, I've worked with Okta, I've worked with MuleSoft, but that's more of retrieving the data and making sense of it. I've done Okta deployments in the past, worked with federated identity, federated access. Man, that's a broad question. A lot.
He has projects where he is tracking was it your car? And You have a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I did indeed Splunk my car back in 2015. So after I left Splunk, I took a year and I wanted to start a home automation company. This is really when products like Philips Hue, Samsung, SmartThings, and whatnot were hitting the market. And, going back to the whole Captain Picard or ordering the tea Earl Grey hot, I wanted to connect everything in my house. And I described it as, at the time, there were a lot of educated homes, but no smart homes. And what I mean by that was you had a ton of sensors, you had a ton of devices feeding data, but really no centralized platform able to make sense of that. So it started with, and I have a passion for cars, it started with, okay, well, let me see if I can Splunk my car. Turns out you can. I had a Raspberry Pi and I was Splunking it, and I wanted to actually bring that to market. And this is before Splunk had their stories with McLaren, with Porsche, and they've got some really great telemetry stories on F1 now. And I think they had an F1 simulator at .conf like 2 years ago, and that taught me real fast. Yeah, I'm not as good at driving as I thought I was. So I did. I had this little device that plugged in the car, and I wanted to take it to market. And about the time that I started actually reaching out and talking to people to prototype the hardware on it, who was it? Verizon, Zuby, and Automatic all came out with a connected car product that month. I was like, well, missed that boat. So I started looking at, kind of broader home automation. And I learned real fast that starting a hardware startup is not the same as starting a software startup. They actually want money to prototype things versus being able to just spin up infrastructure in AWS and prototype software. So yeah, I was smoking cars before smoking cars was cool, I guess.
Gangster, true visionary. Tiffany, why don't you do that?
Hipster moment.
Why don't you do that to our house? Automate, do that to my car. Why is it broke right now? I'm still mad about this. So listen. First of all, I'm cheap. Let's preface with that. First of all, I'm cheap. So I had a 2017 Honda Civic until like 2 months ago. Like I was like, I'm keeping it until it just dies, and then finally I was like paying amounts that I was like, I can't keep this car anymore. So I ended up getting a new car, but my whole thing is I don't want anything with like electronics. I want it to be just like base, but you can't find that anymore. And so Tiffany calls me an old lady because I get this car, I'm driving, and now I'm getting these errors about, what is it, the lane assist or something? And I'm like,
I hate lane assist.
Right? I'm like, see, this is why I wanted to keep my basic car. This was a waste of money. So she says I'm an old lady. But anyways, I digress.
Do you get the hand crank windows?
I would have.
That's a little too old school for me there. I do like my power windows.
Look, gang, here's what look, when I went into there, I said, my car payment got to be $400. So what you got? Then my car payment's about to be $400. Does it have to be hybrid? Does it have to have leather seats? Nope.
Nope.
Sure don't. Just got to be new. Anyway, let me stop. We be quiet because Tiffany has good questions and I don't want to miss them.
Paul, you studied business, right?
I did.
How did studying business shift the way you thought about technology?
Well, first qualifying why I went into business, when obviously I have a tech background and a passion for that. I mentioned that I wasn't very successful my first time through college. Well, by the time I got a second stab at it with my GI Bill, at that point I already had a decade working in technology. So I'm like, I'm not going to go back and learn kind of the basics of what I do day in and day out. And so business made sense for that. I guess how that really shifted it was, prior to that, my focus was really on the technology and, talking about integrating and whatnot, but I have to say it was a little myopic in terms of how I viewed it. I would really just kind of look at the project I was working on, at the outcomes that we wanted. And where I think the business degree helped is looking at how that integrates broadly across the enterprise. So looking at how to market what I build, looking at, finance and accounting, working in software as a service, you've got different costs associated with, you've got cost of goods sold, you've got, all the way down to I guess office expenses for some things. So seeing how that's accounted for and where that affects different aspects of your cash flow, your profit and loss on it, looking at support, and it just, I guess it gave me a broader appreciation of how technology, especially for a tech company, fits into the business.
What do you feel like skill-wise you got from that and that other people can bring from their transition, their shift into tech when they're coming from the business world?
I think the most valuable thing I got out of that was the marketing aspect of it. And, I've got a lot of content that I've put out there on Splunk base, content that I've released on the Azure App Store, on Google Store. And before I went through that business degree, I wouldn't have known how to package that and put it out there. I remember back even working at Splunk, building dashboards and building content and showing it to people in a work in progress state. And I would preface that with, hey, look, this is work in progress. Certain aspects of it are not going to work. Very few people can see past that. So being able to actually put a veneer of design on it, being able to put some type of wrapping, some type of branding on it, I think really helped accelerate a product view of technology.
I like that. I actually want to ask Kenneth that exact same question, if you don't mind. Kenneth, how has your perspective changed towards tech since starting your business is?
I would say it's been an interesting experience. So initially I went to school for business, and then I realized I want to kind of niche down to something more technical. So I did cybersecurity and technology. But having a business background was always been really helpful towards me. From the standpoint of realizing you have to know how to actually communicate and tell a story. Because every single field you're trying to sell something, doesn't matter what it is, right? And so if you don't know how to tell a story, it's kind of hard to move ahead and get promoted. So once I realized that that's functional what sales is. Sales is just functionally getting someone to do the thing you want to do, right? Unethical sales is getting someone to do the thing that isn't in their best interest. Ethical sales is someone to lead them towards a proper result that will best benefit them, even if it doesn't benefit yourself. So just viewing it from that lens has made it easier. Initially, I guess people think of sales as a used car salesman trying to sell a Bentley towards towards a grandma, and he's like, I can't afford this. The guy's like, I don't care, buy it, right? But just realizing that all I'm trying to do is just make someone understand that this is the best choice for their own personal benefit, for their own career, their life, their health, whatever the case I may be selling. So running my own company has been helpful inside of that, realizing that I can probably work in any field that I want to at this point because I know how to sell and I know how to convince people and tell a story. So it's made it easier, and that's something I try to teach my students all the time so they don't want to do it. And they think that if they're just technical to get a job, I'm like, that's not how it works. You have to be able to tell a story, and if you can't, someone's going to probably hire someone that isn't as technical or as smart as you, but they can convince them better than you can.
Yeah, soft skills are really important. Paul, have you always kind of been easy to talk to? Because you got a good vibe, you got good energy, but you're also extremely technical. You're genius level technical. So is that something that's always come natural to you? Hey, look, we here to gas you up.
You give me too much credit. I'm not going to take genius level, but I will take technical. If I think, this is a hard one because you're asking me to think about things that I haven't really paid attention to as I've done it. At least as far back as Splunk, I could talk technology to anyone in a room. I could talk about it to the least technical person, all the way up to the most technical person. Actually, some of them could outclass me in conversations. So there's that, but at least I could keep up with it. But I struggle to think if that came naturally to me. Part of my job at Splunk, so Splunk hired me to do two things. One, run Splunk at Splunk. We called it Splunk X. And two was, after we had a story to tell about that, is to go and join the sales teams as kind of a targeted sales engineer, really showcase, it's one thing to, and I'm sure Kenneth can appreciate this, it's one thing to go to a prospect and be like, hey, we've got this cool software. It can do X, Y, and Z for you. It's another thing to go to them and say, hey, we've got this cool software. Here's how we use it. Here's the value that we get out of it, right? Here is our story and how we've made our business more efficient. And as part of that, I went through the SE training, and I was exposed to what they call the Splunk whiteboard, how to draw out the story on it. But I struggle to think if that empowered me. It certainly gave me tools, but I think I've just always just kind of understood it at a fundamental level.
Yeah, and you've always kind of had those soft skills. Are you an extrovert?
Not one bit. So I went to the Splunk conference this week. So between that and this podcast, we are expending all of my social capital for the next month. I'm going to cuddle up with my cats, do my work, so I can gear up for CribbleCon, where I'm going to expend the rest of my social capital for the year. I can flip the switch and force myself into that mode if necessary. And I've run booths at Splunk conference. We're doing a booth at CribbleCon. I can make myself be extroverted when necessary. I much prefer cuddling with my cats.
No, that's facts. But how do you? So like, I'm this one's for the room actually because we're all in tech, and I know I'm an introvert. Tiffany's an introvert. I'm assuming Kenneth is.
No way, you're an introvert.
Oh no, it's painful, and everybody's like, oh, "No, you're not." I'm like, "It's painful. It's really painful."
Okay.
But so for you, we'll start with Paul and Kenneth. Like Paul first. For you, how do you flip that switch? What do you do? Like, what is your mindset going into those kind of like social events?
So I don't really have a mindset. And I think that's part of the strategy on it. So if I try to put myself in a mindset, if I think about it, I'm just going to freak myself out. I damn near talk myself out of going to Splunk conference this year. And what I've got to do is just say, you know what? Stop thinking about it. Just do. You've got your plane, you've got your flight booked, you've got your hotel booked. You don't have to literally think about anything. Follow the path. And that's what I do. I just kind of go into this pre-programmed, I guess, autopilot mode to some degree. Now, don't get me wrong. I do expend mental capital and I do, try to make meaningful conversations on it. But in terms of flipping the switch, it's really just a decision saying, I am flipping this switch and then not thinking about it until I get home.
I understand that. That's like being in love. You make a choice. I was waiting for it.
See, now I'm wishing I would have loaded up some sound effects for this.
What about you, Kenneth? How do you kind of flip the switch?
I don't really flip a switch. So my mindset is there's certain things I want out of life, and if I don't do them, someone else is going to do them and get the results that I want. So I just do it. That's basically it. If I want to build a connection or talk to somebody, if I don't do that, someone else is going to talk to that person, get the salary, get the job that I want, and I don't want that to happen. So I just do it, and that's about it. I don't try to build narratives in my head. That doesn't really help me out. So I just do the things I want to do, and just think about if I don't do it, I'm not gonna have the things that I want, and I don't want that type of lifestyle. So I just do it.
Kenneth said he chasing a bag, whatever it takes to get a bag. I feel that.
But, you make some great points on that, Kenneth. I feel like too often we psych ourselves out and talk ourselves out of things. We overthink and don't think, just do.
Agreed. What about yourself, Tiffany?
It's just kind of like that camera just flipped on me, and I'm just like, I'm here now. I got to do something.
You look like you weren't expecting that.
Dance.
Yeah, I don't know my mindset going into things. I think I'm like low energy thinking about it all the way up to the point, and then I get there and I'm just like, okay, I'm here. Let's make the best of it, And I just do my best to just lead with kindness, lead with love. I treat people kind of in the same way that my family is. My family is always like, you bring somebody to the house, they family, go in the kitchen and get your own plate. And so I kind of try to basically have that same energy when I go into a room, regardless of whether I feel excited about it or not. And then just work with what we got.
I love that.
How do you feel?
I've become quite the listener. I've learned that respectfully, I've learned that tech folks, either there's two categories. Either you'll ask them a question and it'll end up being a one-way conversation. Like, oh, where are you from? I'll be like, Dallas. Cool. Enjoy the conference, right? And then there's the people who you'll be like, where are you from? I'm from Dallas, Texas. And it's great. And the barbecue. And then also, and I started this, I'm like, oh, that's so lit. And then you'll have a 30-minute conversation like that. So I try to find those people, and then I'll get my 2 seconds in of okay, I'm Jordan. This is my thing. It was great talking to you. Bye. So my default right now is just listening to people talk for real. But thank you for asking, Tiffany. But Tiffany, so she seems like the introvert, but when we go to conferences, I'm the one that's like, can you go talk to people for me, please? Because can you get it started and I'll pull up. But no, she's the one who's very comfortable. I don't know if you're comfortable with it, but she's the one who can really go up to people and initiate a conversation, not me.
Yeah. That's, again, just same way my family treated people. Just, you're here, your family. We may as well sit and chat. But it's usually after a while, I'm kind of like, okay, Jordan, say some words.
And then she walks off. Leave me with the yappers. Anyways, we'll get back to Tiffany's really professional questions.
Well, you were talking about this a little bit, earlier. You described yourself, though, as not your grandfather's executive. So human cracking jokes and release notes and hiding Easter eggs in code. So why is it important to embrace your own brand of humor in the workplace?
You know, I've got to say, other than the metal in my head, that is probably one of the most controversial aspects of my career. People either love it or hate it. I have worked for a manager who despised that about me. But quite frankly, I was really good at what I did, and he couldn't say else. So there was that.
Boom.
When I was working for a hospital, we were building a pretty massive Splunk project. And when we first started that, I was pretty straight-laced with my release notes. And after about the third time having to explain to someone what I'd just written an email about, I'm like, no one reads this. So, I thought back, and even back in high school, looking at the Linux code, and people would just write like just weird stuff in the comments. Think about if you've ever started a Splunk instance, you're going to get a tagline like an F18 bro, the notorious BIG data. You just kind of get weird stuff in it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me take a little bit of that dry humor, that sarcasm, and just kind of pepper it into my release notes and see if that increases the chance that people will read it. Sure enough, you start writing weird enough stuff in there and people will read every word of it. They're like, what is this crazy guy going to say next? And, it kind of gives a personality to it. It gives I think it humanizes a bit the technology adoption. It gets people interested in it. And again, it's controversial. More often than not, people like it, I find. But I also find that, and I've got y'all obviously stalk me on LinkedIn if you said the not your grandfather's executive thing. I kind of use that now as a qualification. Do I want to work for this company? If they're going to get offended by me, cracking jokes, if they're going to get offended by the way I look, that's really not a place I want to be. For every one door that my personality, my brand closes, it opens another.
For people who are listening to this podcast and who may feel like, bringing their own authentic self into rooms and texts, they may not be accepted. What would you say to them?
I would just reiterate what I just said. The harsh reality is it will close doors for you. And there are certain rooms that whatever aspect about your personality or say your history of projects you worked, there will be doors that are closed. Accept that and realize that that's not the place for you anyway. If someone is, if you're going to come in against a prejudice, is that really an uphill battle that's worth your energy and worth your time? So, shake hands, walk away, and go into the rooms that will accept you. In tech, there are so many out there, so many places for you to land. Don't get hung up on the boring crap.
What about you, Kenneth? How would you respond to that?
I have a bad habit of not caring at this point in my life. I know I'm still kind of young. It's not to the point. I don't. All right. Well, some people say do really stupid stuff. I'm just like, I don't really care anymore. So I'm just going to be me. If you don't like it, then just don't be around me then. Because I can't really help you probably. Which is a bad habit of mine because I don't always read social situations properly. So people like kind of like, why are you doing this? I'm just like, because doing anything else would be kind of stupid. So I'm not going to do that. It's like, you can't say do that, Kenneth. I'm like, why? I'm like, why do I have to pretend to be like this sort of person that isn't who I actually am? Right. So a lot of times with like companies, because I interviewed for a company. This was back in April, May, and I did 9 rounds. I did 9 rounds of interviews. And they told me it pissed me off. So first they told me that I wasn't very technical. I'm like, that's not true. But I'm like, I can deal with that, right? The second part is that they told me I have a terrible attitude. I'm like, don't call me the angry black man. I don't appreciate that. And because I did 9 rounds. So my thing was, if my attitude was so terrible, why wasn't that told in like round 1 or 2? I can't BS you for 9 rounds. I'm not like a CIA agent. I can't do that. So my thing was, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, right? They think that I have a terrible attitude, then I don't want to work there. So you ultimately have to kind of be yourself. You can't be liked by everyone, because if you try to appease everyone, you appease no one. So you just have to be yourself, right? And accept that be some people that hate your guts, and certain people that will actually love you. That's kind of how it is. I guess my grandma told me the older you get, the more you realize that. I kind of realized that. I guess because I started my own business, so I'm like, I am who I am. If you don't like it, then don't work with me. That's kind of how it is.
Kenneth at the ripe old age of 24 is just like,
I wish I had had that attitude at 24. It took me much longer in my life to get to that point where, just that acceptance of it. I wish I would. Case in point, I am actually from Louisiana, but you're not going to be able to tell that by the way I speak, because I learned early on in the Air Force, people tended to think I was a little dumb because of my Southern drawl. So I trained it out. I put in 4 years of effort to change the way I speak. I didn't really have to. Quite frankly, I think a Southern drawl is a little charming, and it's one thing that I wish come back. So, Kenneth, I wish I had your attitude at your age.
yes, Southern accent is where it's at. Tiffany, go ahead and say something.
Oh my gosh.
You turning red.
Come on, let us hear that twang.
My bad.
Oh man. Well, did you, Paul, did you ever wrestle with any fears about not having the technical background as you walked into rooms knowing that you didn't come from the most traditional route to get into tech?
You said, did I wrestle? The correct question is, do I wrestle? To this day, absolutely. I think it's called imposter syndrome. And all the time, I mentioned I worked with some very smart engineers at Splunk, and quite often I did feel outclassed in that. I'm not going to be able to, there's just certain things that I just don't know how to do because I taught myself on it. And what I've had to learn how to do is to really just rely on what I have done to get over that. And I go through cycles where every 6 to 8 weeks, especially working in different client environments, I somehow convince myself I know nothing about Splunk or Cribble. And I've got to look back, and it's like, I've got all this content that's actually published on Splunkbase, and I've built all these projects out, and I have to reassure myself from time to time that I actually know what I'm doing.
That's very interesting. You say you convinced your own self after all the work that you've done and all the receipts you have. You're like, do I know enough? Kenneth, you over there shaking your head. You got any of those days?
It's like every day, which is why I document everything that I do. So oftentimes when I do interviews, so sometimes I'm like, oh, well, can't you do this? I document like everything I've done over the past like probably 3 years. So everything's color coded, screenshots, organized. Because I can have my own company teaching this, I have dozens of videos that I publish as well on how to actually build Splunk servers, how to cluster servers, how to deploy architecture, how to actually talk to clients, how to gather requirements. And so when I do interviews, well, have you done this before? I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, here's everything I've done. They're like, oh my God, no one ever does this in an interview. I'm like, I know. I'm like, that's why I did it. So just, I am being honest, right? I'm like, people, especially for interview, people do look at the bare minimum. They don't get jobs, right? So I did an interview. This Friday. It was early in the morning. I was dead tired. I showed up my career map for what I had for my goals, and the guy is like, I've interviewed like 100 people before, and no one's ever done this before. I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm like, I know. That's why I did it. To be honest, right?
That's some confidence there.
Yeah,
I know.
Jordan, you're kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've seen you getting prepared for interviews for like 3 weeks. And I'm like, what are you doing over there?
And then get told that I'm too goofy for the job.
Reading my script.
And then get told, you kind of too, respectfully, you need to button up. Oh, all right. All right.
Yikes.
Cool. Anyways, so I want to kind of go back to the conversation about your vision or your thoughts about the evolution of professional services. And then I also want to talk a little bit about how you feel AI is also going to impact that.
See, that wasn't on the list. You gave me a question. It's not on the list.
Look, I know it's going to make you angry, so I want to get into it.
I will dial that back, but let me tackle the easier question first. I do believe that moving to a subscription, a consumption model on professional services is the next logical step in this. I think it just follows on the shift from big box software to software as a service. And what we really saw was during the COVID lockdown when everyone was remote, people got used to that degree of flexibility. Consultants got used to that degree of flexibility. And also it became a lot easier to move people in and out of projects like that when you don't actually have someone physically sitting in an office and going somewhere. So people who consume services wanted that flexibility. And I think that was the catalyst. I think that on a long enough timeline, this evolution would have happened anyway. But given that landscape, it was really a catalyst for it. And I talked earlier a bit about the skill gap on that. This closes so many things that are, I guess, more of anchors in legacy services. So skill gaps. With a subscription service, you open a ticket for item A, you get an expert in item A. You open for item B, you get an expert in item B. And it's not just like, I think about consuming services, and back when I worked for the hospital, we worked with a Splunk partner firm, and we had two of the best consultants I have ever worked with. We had them doing an upgrade. It was when we went from Splunk 7 to 8, and if y'all remember that, it's when they went from Python 2 to 3. So not only did we have to upgrade the platform, not only did we have to upgrade content, we also had to make sure all of our code would still work once it flipped over to Python 3. This consultant didn't know Python. And so we ended up having to do that internally and ate a significant amount of that cost. And again, I'm not throwing shade on him. I would work with this guy again in a heartbeat. There's nothing wrong with the fact he doesn't know Python. He doesn't bill himself as knowing Python. We didn't get that. And it was very, very impactful for us to pick up the slack on something that we had, quite frankly, paid another firm to do for us. And the flexibility on that, one of the things I like about this model is we give clients the ability to flex up or down at any point with 30 days notice. For the client, what that means is, they go through a period of time where they just don't have a lot of work. They don't have to continue paying this exorbitant bill when they don't need it. For the services firm, it actually makes you a little bit more recession resistant in that it's, do you lose the contract when they just say, nope, we don't need services, we can't afford it anymore? Or can you dial that back down to a point where you're able to maintain the relationship, where you're able to maintain that presence in there? And like all cycles, what goes down must come up, to flip that on its head. And, you're not going to be in that space forever. And if you can maintain that presence in there, you're much more likely to survive that. So yeah, it's really about democratizing services and making sure that clients get exactly what they need when they need it, meeting their needs, to close the loop on that one. That was awkward.
No, for sure. I think about that though, because as someone who worked in services literally 2 weeks ago, I just shifted out of it. But I wonder about stability, right? Because if you're doing something kind of subscription based, I really love that idea, but I also wonder to myself, if clients aren't buying those long-term contracts, what does that do for those individual consultants in terms of making sure that they're constantly, getting revenue, they're able to eat?
Right. That is certainly a concern. And, I mentioned that the models that I've worked with, you've actually been able to turn that knob down and have the client go with less. To date, I've never seen anyone play that card. If you're doing right by them, if you're meeting their needs, you're more often than not going to be running up and to the right. And just because it's a subscription doesn't mean you can't have a full-time or multiple full-time equivalents of delivery. I've worked with clients where we had 160 hours a month that we were delivering for them, all ticket-based. Positioning, it's also in positioning too. You're not just selling a statement of work. You're not just selling a project that you deliver and get out of there. As part of that subscription, you are partnering with your client. You are learning their environment. You are positioning yourself as a trusted advisor, as a strategic resource in that. And once you get that positioning on there and you build that trust, that's the stability. It's the trust and the positioning on it that's your stability. Work comes and goes.
Yeah, firms don't like switching contracts or deals too often. So if you do a good job and you're halfway decent, which a lot of firms are not, honestly, then you should be fine. They're just going to keep you around, and you can just build a relationship. And then once something pops up or another big project increases, because they tripled the revenue in the past 3 years, and they're going to ingest another 2 terabytes per day or something like that, they're going to come to you first. That's normally how it works.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're already familiar with their environment. You've already established those relationships. So no, that totally makes sense. I want to talk about AI though.
Damn it! I thought I'd dodge that.
Nah. So, and this is one of those things where I definitely kind of want to get a dialogue going for everybody. But AI, and whether it be in services, whether it be in coding, because I know, Paul, you're like, a jack of all trades, whatever it is, like, how are y'all feeling about AI in terms of impacting those sorts of jobs and those sorts of workflows and just like, yeah.
I think that if you're good at coding, this is actually creating a tremendous opportunity to start a firm in remediating AI slop. And you can, when a company is in crisis mode, you can charge whatever you want, but you have to have the skills to back it up. Don't become part of the problem and make things worse. I am probably the most cynical person on AI that I know. But that being said, I'm also a bit grounded in reality, understanding it is here to stay, and we're going to have to find a way to work with it. I think that blind adoption of AI for the sake of adopting AI is probably the worst mistake someone can make. I think that thoughtful applications of AI, and I have a confession, there is a non-zero percentage of my code that is AI written. What I like, I see that shock there. Some of the SDKs, some of the frameworks that I work with aren't really well documented. And I can either spend 10 hours trying to chase down an obscure example of what I'm trying to do, or I can ask the robot and get an answer in 10 seconds. Is it right? Half the time. But it even when it's wrong, it still more often than not points me in the direction that I need to go. So with AI code, and I ran a bit of an experiment with Claude a little while back. I had it vibe code out a whole application. Despite me iterating several times on it, I would never have launched that in production. That would have been compromised within 10 seconds on it. So those type of projects, I don't think we're there yet. But for targeted tasks, and I mentioned a non-zero percentage of my code is AI generated, for specific targeted tasks and methods, I do find it to be a tremendous time saver on that. I think I go back and forth on it. It's one thing to be dismissive of generative AI and say, oh, it's just a prediction engine. It just predicts the next right word. Isn't that kind of what our brains do too? So if you think about that, this conversation right now, there are processes running in all of our heads that are predicting the next thing that we need to say, that we want to say to be able to convey a message. And if you think about it like that, AI is more or less a cognitive 1-year-old with the vocabulary of a PhD. It will continue to get better. And like humans, there are times that I have been in a conversation and I have just point blank said something that wasn't true. I believed it was true at the time. I fact checked myself later on it.
That's that military.
Even that's the thing. You say it with confidence, and then if you're wrong, fix it later. But stand in front of whatever you have to say with confidence. AI is doing the same thing right now. I think the danger is, especially in the vibe coding realm, is you have people out there who have no idea how to code. It's like, oh yeah, let me just vibe code this shit. You don't know enough about what you're doing. This goes to Dunning-Kruger effect. You don't know enough about what you're looking at to say if it's good or bad. That's the scary part. I think that AI is going to augment engineering, augment development, augment services if used properly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. What about you, Kenneth? You're a cybersecurity all over. You do all the things cybersecurity. How have you seen it impact kind of like, workflows?
I think it's helpful like in small doses. So if you're trying to, let's say, do some type of threat research to create a detection rule, it can be helpful to create baseline templates. So instead of you having to use Sentinel or Splunk, search through like 20 different tables or indexes to try to find it, spend hours, and then if you have multiple clients, spend days a week trying to basically just understand the environments. It can give you quick templates. Like, all right, here's where the security logs may be. They may be in these tables. Here's how you may want to try to query the data to get back, right? Now, it's always going to be right? No, I've had to fix it multiple times to give me tables that don't exist. So I'm like, this isn't helpful. So the issue, which Paul was saying, is if I give this someone that had never worked in the SIM platform, never built a detection engineer, never automated anything, it's going to catch on fire. Because they don't know what they don't know. And they don't know that half of this information is incorrect. So I know what was it? I remember this was like 2 years ago. Paul Stout came up with their XCM platform, and they say it's fully automated. I'm just gonna take away all the jobs, and I'm like, then I'm like, does that mean that you guys will go out of business in like a couple months then? If that's the case, like how's this gonna work? Like oh my God, I don't understand, and it doesn't, right? But investors have spent hundreds of billions of dollars for all the infrastructure and all the costs for it, so they're trying to what's that sunk fallacy cost? They're trying to get back their money in investment, even if it doesn't make logical sense. I think that's kind of the stage we're currently at. Because a lot of these firms are not profitable for a lot of these AI and stuff, like at all. From like an environmental standpoint, from like an infrastructure standpoint, it's expensive. Like the amount of power these things run on is insane. I think it's like 30 times the cost to run like an AI search compared to the Google query search. And so the infrastructure is not there. We function as it stands right now. We can't scale this up until we get that fixed. So there's a lot of work that has to be done on that back end.
Yeah.
Talk about the energy cost. I read that Microsoft has actually paid to reactivate the working reactor at 3 Mile Island, a whole nuclear reactor for their data centers.
See, you know, in the next 5 years, everyone rich is going to Mars, and we just gonna be here melted. I've accepted my fate. It's fine. What about you, Tiffany? You're an incident security something.
Yikes.
You know what the question is.
I'm just gonna have to say I mean I agree with everything both of you have said, and also the security thing. It's a big deal where you've talked about kind of something blowing up because people don't actually know what the AI is doing. I've seen people like, oh, here, I asked AI and AI gave me this answer and I'm trying to type it in and it's not working. And you're kind of thinking, but the fundamentals aren't there. So I just feel like even if you are trying your best to work and use AI because you're trying to keep up with what's going on in tech and, you know, stay ahead of the power curve, you're going to have to find a way to get the fundamentals up under you, regardless of what you're trying to use AI for to take you forward. You're not going to get very far without the fundamentals.
I feel that for sure. I feel like AI is already making me stupider, so I'm going to claim that. I'm going to claim. I haven't.
Is that a word?
Stupider, more stupid, less intelligent.
Remember, all words are made up.
I'm over here like over the last week, and I caught myself doing this, and I was like, oh, this is so bad. I have written like half emails and been like, just finish this. Just, you know what I'm getting at? Just finish it. So now I'm like, when I'm typing now, I'm just like, I before Eve.
Oh, gosh.
It's gotten rough. So I'm over here like I need to stop. I need to start writing my emails again because I'm starting to lose those critical thinking skills we talk about so often. But anyways, something we haven't done in a long time because we are getting to the point where we have to wrap it up. We haven't done this in a long time, and I want to do it. Paul, for people who are interested in getting into tech, what are 3 pieces of advice that you would give them?
I would say first and foremost, know why you're doing it. If you're getting into tech just because you know it pays well, you're going to have a harder time with it. Now, there's nothing particularly wrong with that. A lot of people have careers that they are good at but don't necessarily like. But just understand why you're doing it and know that if it's not a passion of yours, expect it to be a grind. And there's no way around that. Start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. I think all the way back to when I started, and it was really changing one little thing about it, just seeing if I could make the red button blue and go from there. Don't try to come in and write the next Salesforce killer out of the gate. You will completely inundate and drown yourself. And he asked for 3.
Wear hats if you're going bald. Commit to it.
Well, just have fun with it. And I struggled on how to frame that for a moment. I have found that anything in life that I'm passionate about, the moment I start doing it as a job, it's 10 times less fun than if I were just doing it on my own. So what I mean by that is embrace that, but still, run some projects on the side that are fun. Splunking my car was fun. Did that make me any money? Nope. Did it cost me money? Yes. Did it cost me sleep? Yes. Is it cool? Hell yeah. Yes. Who else can say that they've done that, right? I mentioned the home automation. Even today in my house, I have smart lights that I like to play with, different settings on. I, try to run the APIs through Cribble, and that, again, none of that is making me money. I'm not working with Internet of Things, but it's freaking cool. It is like the Starship Enterprise. You tell Siri to turn the lights on and they do it.
So you're a Star Trek fan, because
Absolutely.
that's the second time you have made reference to the Star Trek.
Is it only the second time? I thought there were more than that. Yeah, absolutely.
Take a shot every time he mentions a Star Trek reference. But yeah, Kenneth, go ahead. Hit us with 3 pieces of new advice, because you always give good advice. But hit us with some hot takes.
I would say specifically for cybersecurity, that's a realm that I work in. Never posted about this on Monday as well, but specifically for threat hunting, threat intelligence, anything on that threat side, if you don't like documentation or presentation, you probably shouldn't be in this field, honestly.
Boom.
But that's what half my job is, especially the higher levels, right? Again, no one's going to pay you $400 an hour to do something, and you can't explain as to why you did it and why it's important. If you can't do that, then doesn't matter how technically smart you are, they're not going to care, right? The people that have like cancer medicine that won't take it because someone can't convince them this is the proper thing for them, right? And people die for it. So don't think that just because you're technically smart, you're going to somehow last if you don't know how to present in front of somebody or tell a story. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing, this is just like honest advice. Be willing to do what others are not willing to do. Going back towards my last point, I want to say 30 minutes ago, if someone's willing to move outside of the state to get that job and you're not, they're probably going to get that job and get that salary, and you won't. And that's just the reality of it, right? So if you're not willing to move or travel or do something that someone else is willing to do, just be okay with maybe not getting the job or waiting an extra year to land that type of role. All right, that's just the reality of it, right? I have people that come towards me saying they live like in like Wyoming or Montana and they don't want to move. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, that's fine. I'm just like, there's not a lot of jobs there, so just realize you may not get a job with it, right? I can't want to be like a world-class fisherman. I live in like Kansas, right? That's not how it works, right? I have to move. I just have to, right? And so just understand that type of mindset, and you should be fine. The third thing would be who you surround yourself with is going to determine how far you go, honestly. If everyone around you isn't in the type of growth mindset, you're probably gonna be screwed. Especially if you're younger. If you're like in your early mid-20s, the advantage point you have is that you can physically work longer and harder than most people, and you won't die or pass out. That's the reality of it, right? For example, I won't be working as hard as I work now when I'm like 68, all right? Because I physically probably can't, right? But I can because I'm 28 years old. I can physically do that. I'm in really good shape. I take care of myself, so I can work 60, 70 hours a week, and I will be mentally and physically fine, all right? Second part is because you normally don't have kids, a family, and mortgage, you can do that, and there's no downside. So if you have to move, if you have to travel, you can, right? And the worst thing, because people tell me, but like, Kenneth, like I'm broke and I have no money. I'm like, so I'm like, you're telling me, if you move and it doesn't work out, you'll still be broke and have no money. So you're still in the same spot that you were 10 minutes ago, right? But on the flip side, if it does work, it can probably change your life, right? So take that risk, right? Mm-hmm. Because if it doesn't work, you're still in the same spot that you were in a year or 2 years ago, right? So just take the worst.
Kenneth, is that real advice right there? That's that real. Look, I'm gonna tell you how it is, even if it hurts. I like that.
Like I said, I don't care. So if you don't like it, then just don't listen towards me.
One of my 2 favorite quotes is attributed to Henry Ford, and it's whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Make that a thing.
Clip it.
Clip that.
My second favorite quote is Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
That part. I eat ears for breakfast. Okay.
Wow, we went dark there. Okay.
We did.
I'm surprised you know that reference.
I mean, I like watching people fight and beat each other up. I don't understand it. They don't get paid enough, most of them. But hey, more power to them. It's entertainment, I guess.
Still, wasn't that back in the 90s when he bit Holyfield's ear?
Yeah, but it's such a popular reference.
I mean, we also started our show with 90s R&B.
That is facts. Okay.
Yeah. Some of us were born before 1997. Excuse me. Sorry.
Low
Apologies.
blows.
Well, apologies for that. But yeah. Do we want to go ahead and let people plug things?
Well, yeah, we do want to know from Paul, when all of your applications are built and they're working, when all the turntables go quiet, what do you do to find your centerpiece?
I think the expectation here would be that I do something calming and just kind of zen. Nope. Hop on a motorcycle and go as fast as I can.
Love it.
I like speed. I like cars. I like bikes, and that's really my happy place. I will just jump in the car and go for a drive for 4 or 5 hours just for the hell of it. Not to get anywhere, not to accomplish anything, just to enjoy it.
Wow.
It's a long drive.
I hate driving.
I love it. I am the one who will volunteer to drive on road trips. I am the one that's like, hey, can I drive that in the same time it would take me to get to the airport and get through security? Screw it, drive it.
Wow. I don't drive in the rain. I don't drive in the dark.
The rain. You live in Florida.
Yeah, I do.
I feel bad for you then.
I know, Kenneth. I'm that person. If it gets past the drizzle, I'm turning my hazards on. I'm pulling over. I'm watching the Steve Harvey show until it stops. Like, that's me right there.
That sounds like every day then. But that's what the Tampa's like.
Right? It's like if it rains here, it's like a tsunami. It's horrible. Is it like that in Dallas?
No, it's not as bad. And it doesn't rain as often either. But more of a temperate climate. So it doesn't rain. It hails a lot more than it does in Tampa. I remember I was in my apartment. I'm like, why the raindrop bounce off the ground so hard? I'm like, oh wait, it's hail.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Okay, so we're actually at time. So this is where I thank you, and then Tiffany does her thing. So thank you both. Honestly, thank you both for your time, your energy. Kenneth, you popped up after I hit you up an hour before this. So thank you. And all jokes aside, you really do support our podcast. You always show up whenever we ask you to. So we've interviewed him 6 times at this point. So we genuinely appreciate your support. Honestly, 100%. And Paul, thank you. Thank you for your support as well. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy with us. I feel like I bugged you quite a bit at this point. So I'm really thankful for this.
The only thing we could maybe consider bugging is you throwing that AI question at me, but we'll let that one pass. I really thank you so much for the opportunity to come on here. It's been a great conversation this morning, and every conversation that I've had with y'all, realizing this is my first with Kenneth, has been fulfilling and energizing, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Great. Before we get out of here, Paul, how do people get in touch with you to ask you more questions or learn more about your transition into tech and what's been helpful?
I think the easiest way would be to hit me up on LinkedIn. I don't necessarily want to give my email on the internet, but y'all have it, and they could get that. If someone reached out to you, I would not mind you sharing that.
We're not doing that. We're not sharing that joint.
Then hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Do you have any projects you want to plug or anything like that?
I don't think it's quite ready for that right now. I mentioned I work for a services firm, so I will plug them, the VisiCore Technology Group, work with a great group of people on that. And we got some pretty big stuff coming that we're going to be announcing at CribbleCon next month. So we will have a booth at CribbleCon. You can come and see me in person if you want and learn more about it there. Right
on. Kenneth, what about yourself? You want to go ahead and let the people know how they can get in touch with you and go ahead and plug what you want to plug?
Yeah, I just sent Paul connection request on LinkedIn too. But you can normally either find me directly on LinkedIn, like Kenneth Ellington. I'm the brother with the nice suit. Everyone keeps telling me that. Don't leave me alone about it.
Michael B. Jordan.
God. So that, or you can hit us on ellingtonsupperacademy.com. And directly reach out to me, book a call with my team if you need more help or information on how to improve your career within cybersecurity. Again, I have a very dry sense of humor, and I am very blunt and honest. So just putting it out there in case you're like, this guy is kind of weird. Just letting you know ahead of time.
Yeah, I feel that. But real quick, something I don't think Tiffany and I have told you, but when you put all those pictures out there, we were like, okay, GQ.
That's what everyone said. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
He on there like, okay, but all right, awesome. Well, thank you both, and
Yeah. Everybody else, as always, we are so happy that you chose to spend time with us at this Stats on Stats podcast episode, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
stay wavy. Cash App is still the same as the last times I told y'all.